story for quite some time, but I wanted to wait to get more details. And this story, you guys, turns out to be more tragic and more of a miscarriage of justice than we originally thought. So, this horrible man, Cleotha, who just brutally took the life of Eliza, he had allegedly been a suspect in a SA. If you guys know what that means, he RAPED'd another woman just last year, September 2021. The woman allegedly, who was RAPED'd by Kaliotha allegedly, she met him on a dating website, and her and him went on a date, and he brutally assaulted her. He RAPED'd her. The woman went to the authorities. She reported it. She even reported Cleotha as the person who had allegedly RAPED'd her. They did a RAPED analysis on her. They even, got all the results, but they never did the test on, they never did any of the tests to test the DNA to confirm it was Cleotha. They just took the RAPED kit, put it away in some cell, and left it there. So if they had done their job, and the woman who was attacked by him last year, just September, she was so terrified of Cleotha, she left the state. She moved away back home. They never did the investigation. Over a year, almost a year had passed, and they let her results sit. And the interesting fact is, she's a Black woman. And the sad thing is, Black women's lives, Black women's tragic experiences in life are not prioritized in our criminal system. And because this Black woman's tragic victimization from Cleotha was not prioritized, and they did not do the full investigation in her case, and they just took her RAPED kit, put it away without even testing the results to confirm that Cleotha had in fact assaulted her. And they just let that case just sit for all these months, almost approaching pretty much a year. And actually a year, guys, because they didn't test her results until after Eliza was brutally murdered, basically. Had they done their job and prioritized this Black woman's life like they prioritize other ethnic groups, Eliza would have been alive, because they would have confirmed that his DNA was in the Black woman that he had assaulted, and they would have arrested him for that assault. But because they didn't do their job the first time, they just discounted this Black woman's, horrific experience with Cleotha. Eliza's dead now. And that's the problem. People think that when law enforcement fails to do their job in the Black community, it doesn't affect other people. It affects everyone. And now this woman, Eliza, is dead when she would have been alive had law enforcement done their job. So that is one of the most tragic things we found out about this story. Also, there's more details about poor Eliza, guys. Her cause of death. Remember when we were talking about this story before? You have to watch the first video. When he first brutally snatched her into the car, it was a horrific attack. He was sitting there in that car with her for quite some time. So we thought, oh man, he must have brutally murdered her at that time. No, he just beat her, got her into submission, basically, drove her to an area, a vacant kind of housing area, and did whatever he wanted with her and shot her in the back of the head. That is sad. And when they found her body, she was naked. My theory is he essayed her. If you guys know what I mean by essayed. I believe he essayed her just like he did the Black woman back in September. He has a problem with that also. Not only does he have a problem with robbing people, he has a problem with violating women. I think he saw her out there running around, and I talked about this before, with her jogging clothes on, no fault of her own. He has his own sick mind, lusted after this woman, and took her life. And the thing is, he got away with it before with the Black woman. You see, the Black woman, he raped her, basically, RAPED. I said it, but he RAPED'd her. And he got away with it. They just put her results into the back of a little evidence cabinet and just left it there for months, you guys. For a year, they left her not even her results. They never tested it. They just left her evidence kit for a year in a a locker somewhere and never did the results. They never tested the results, you guys. So this woman wasn't even believed. The black woman wasn't even believed. Her story wasn't even valued because of who she was as a black woman. It's sad. So she was so terrified because the officers weren't doing anything about her case. She flew to back home. I forgot where she's from, but she went back home to her home state and is battling, I believe, PTSD. But let's get into this article, guys. So sad. Can you believe the updates in this? Man, I didn't realize that Eliza Fletcher was shot in the back of the head, y'all. That, oh my gosh. But let's get into this. Because not only was she shot in the back of the head, she was brutally beat. So there's blunt force trauma to her. So I think in the car when she was fighting him, after he got her in the car, she didn't stop fighting. I think she was scratching, fighting to get out of that car. He went and just was beating her. He was using blunt force to her body to get her to be subdued. And when she finally, had probably been knocked out by then, he drove her to the vacant area. I believe he did what he wanted with her because he was with her at that place for 2 hours. He unclothed her. He took all her clothes off. So what do you think he was doing in there? I mean, with a girl, poor woman. Then after that, he shot her in the back of the head, y'all. That is so messed up. Oh, let's read this, guys. Poor woman went through all this, and she would have never had to go through this, but for law enforcement valuing the life of the prior black woman who was RAPED'd by this man. Isn't that crazy, guys? That's a shame. So anyways, Memphis billionaire heiress Eliza Fletcher died of a gunshot wound to the back of her head and blunt force trauma. That was what the autopsy results confirmed. Mother of two, Eliza Fletcher was kidnapped and murdered on September 2nd after going for a morning run. She was seen on surveillance video being violently bundled into the back of an SUV. Felon Cleotha Apston Henderson, who is 38 years old, has been charged with her being unalived. Fletcher's disappearance sparked a 4-day search, and her body was found outside a one-story property. And you know what makes me so irritated is how you see how they just prioritize Eliza. But imagine if this was a black woman. Let's flip it around. What if it was a black woman that was missing? Do you think this black woman would have been found in a 4-day search? No, because look what happened to the woman back in September. Her results were sitting there for a year. She was assaulted last year, September 2021, and they just got her results back this month. And it's a coincidence, guys, that they got the results at the same time that they're doing the investigation for Eliza. You know why? Because after this man had brutally murdered Eliza, they thought, there was a case that we were investigating last year. Why don't we now decide to put those results in and test his DNA for that one? Well, why didn't you guys do that in the first place? Eliza would have been alive. This is unacceptable. Like I said, this law enforcement in all these different states, they think they can just devalue the life of black women and it doesn't have consequences. No, it has consequences for everyone. And this woman, Eliza, is dead because of their failures. Their failures. Unacceptable. But they do this quick 4-day search and they end up finding Eliza. They put in all their resources to find this woman. Her life was prioritized, but when it comes to a black woman's life, it doesn't matter. Unacceptable. So Fletcher's disappearance sparked a 4-day, look how easy that was, a 4-day search, and her body was found in a 1-story property. The autopsy report found she died of a gunshot wound and blunt force injury on the head. She also, guys, here's another interesting fact. She also was found to have 10 ml of fentanyl in her system. So he gave her fentanyl, because we know she didn't do it. He gave her fentanyl, y'all, to subdue her, to get her to stop fighting him and stuff. He gave her 10 ml of fentanyl. Man, the more the facts come out about this story, the more crazy it is. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Millionaire heiress Fletcher died of a gunshot wound to the back of the head. The mother was kidnapped. We already talked about that. Cleotha is charged with kidnapping and murdering the 34-year-old after allegedly forcing her into his car. Now, the interesting thing is, this man comes from a long lineage of just horrible people in his family. His father has a lengthy criminal record. He was charged as when Cleotha was younger with all these different charges in prison. His brother also was, as we guys found out, he was arrested for possession of drugs and firearms, and he also had another prior conviction, the brother, of assaulting a woman also. So Cleotha and his family, they're just all a jacked up family. They're just all messed up people, and they have a long criminal history. So it just seems like he's grown up seeing that and just started replicating what he's seen. It's just disgusting. Her disappearance sparked the 4-day search. We already talked about that. They're repeating a lot of this stuff in the article. That's the only thing I don't like about these articles. And there she is, so sad. Here's the guy. This is where some of the facts of the key locations in the abduction case here. So 4:30 a.m. on Central Avenue, Zach H. Curlin Street at 4:30 a.m., Eliza was snatched and put into the GMC terrain in this area, right there in Tennessee. Then at 1591 South Orleans Street, a trash bag containing her purple shorts were found. So he took her clothes off, guys. He did something to her. He had to essayed her. I believe it's his MO when it comes to women, because he did it to the other woman back in September. And who knows, you guys, how many other women he did it to and just got away with it. And you can see that this particular law enforcement community, they don't prioritize Black women. So who knows if there's not other RAPED kits that they had not tested, just simply because of who the victim was involved. So that's the sad part about it. At 1666 Victor Street, body found in long grass next to abandoned building, and she was found naked over there in that area. That's crazy, man. I mean, there's no way he just stripped her and just left her. He did some, he can just do that for, any reason. Person Ave and Majority Street at 5:52 a.m., GMC terrain last seen turning left onto Person Avenue. At 1765 South Orleans Street, absent seen cleaning GMC at brother's house. And there's a lot of interesting, weird things about this story. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, you guys, or if it's something to do with the connection. But the person that he had robbed a couple of years ago, which was the reason why he was originally in prison before, the attorney, that person was connected to being an employee at, or a lawyer at the same law firm as Eliza's uncle. So there was a connection there. The other victim was connected to Eliza's uncle, and they were working in the same law office. Another interesting thing is people had a theory that maybe the husband of Eliza had something to do with it, because they were having problems in their marriage. There were allegations that the husband was cheating on Eliza with the nanny for the kids. There was some problems going on with that. But it's not really panning out that the husband had anything to do with this. It's just showing that this was just an unfortunate tragedy that happened to Eliza, sadly. So that hasn't been confirmed that the husband has anything to do with this. It's just they had marital issues, unfortunately, in their marriage. So that is some of the facts that kind of came out. This is the house, guys. So here's the house where her body was found. So after a 4-day search in September, Eliza Fletcher's body was discovered near this home here. Abandoned home, just yards from where the police last spotted the vehicle she was forced into. Just yards. And this particular house is near his brother's house. So it's not that far of a distance from his brother's house. Look, and that's where you see that officer down there kind of digging down this area, searching for the body. Eliza Fletcher's disappearance sparked a 4-day search, which led officers to several wooded areas across Memphis. She was discovered by the steps. Okay, the steps. She was outside the house. She was discovered by the steps of the abandoned one-story property, just yards from where police last spotted the vehicle she was forced into. So she was just on the steps. So that makes me believe that he could not get inside the house somehow. It was really locked up. boarded up, so he couldn't get inside the property. So he just put her outside of the house, the abandoned house. A blood stain remained at the bottom of the stairs, y'all. That's sad. Next to the patch of dirt where her body was found, with flies still swarming the area and locals reporting a stench of decay. That is so sad. The autopsy report was released by the West Tennessee Forensic Center on Thursday, according to ABC 24 Memphis. The report found that she died of a gunshot wound and blunt force injury to the back of her head. Her manner of death was ruled a homicide. She also had blunt force injuries to her leg. Oh my gosh, y'all, he was beating her so bad. Jaw fractures, so he punched her in the face, all kinds of things. According to the autopsy, she had jaw fractures. So that man, he was, oh my gosh, you guys, this is terrible. And this is according to the autopsy completed by the West Tennessee Regional Forensic Center in Memphis. At the time, Fletcher, an elementary school teacher, was found. Her body was in a moderate to advanced stage of decomposition. So it was pretty much in the mid stage. It was pretty much to the mid advanced stage of decomposing. It was really decomposed by the time they even got to her. So sad. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is horrific. And then they did a toxicology report which revealed the fentanyl in her system. So this story just got worse. I mean, the little that we had before didn't even unfold all the gravity of what this horrific monster here did to her. He pleaded not guilty, which the nerve of this person, right? But has not yet answered to the RAPD charges. So they're now filing RAPD ED charges as well, I believe, for the other victim. I'm not sure if they're including those charges for Eliza as well, which I wonder, and I hope that they did some type of rape kit on her to get those results. Abston was seen swaying from side to side in court as he was brought in and turned around to look at those attending court for his hearing. This is him, guys. This is the monster, this lowlife, who has no contribution to society. Him and his criminal father and his brother need to just be locked up and throw away the key. They are no contribution. Just sick. Oh my gosh, just looking at him makes me disgusted. Oh my God, he's so sickening. And he had the nerve, you guys, before this happened, to go on a dating site to target a woman that way. And got away with it. And got away with it. In the criminal complaint against Cleotha Abston, witnesses were quoted as saying they saw the suspect at his brother's home behaving strangely and washing the carpet of his car. So what I think is he was beating her so bad in that car, and there was so much blood in there, he probably even shot her there too, because he was cleaning up that bloody, the back of the bloody seat. The back seat was all bloody and everywhere. So I'm thinking he did the murder inside, or he could have just beat her inside, took her out to where that property was, because he was there at the property for 2 hours. So who knows what he was doing during those 2 hours, and probably shot her there. Who knows? Fletcher was out running on the University Memphis campus when she was forced into a vehicle after a struggle about 4 a.m. on September 2nd. That was just this month, you guys. And you see how quickly they were able to do this investigation, whereas it took them for a RAPED investigation of a Black woman, it took them a year to do her test. Look at the comparison here. Black woman gets RAPD last year. They do a kit. They take tests on her, but they don't even run the test. They just put her evidence in a cell, a locker somewhere. They wait over a year to even test her situation, but it took them less than a month to resolve Eliza's case. It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. Police said her body was found September 5th. How quick it was. She went missing September 2nd, found September 5th behind a vacant home after a massive police search lasting more than 3 days. In the case of Fletcher's abduction, Cleotha was identified as a suspect in just 18 hours. I just wonder if this was a Black woman, would the results have been as fast? You know what I mean? They probably would have just said, oh, you know, we're looking for her. It probably would have been a cold case. And it would have been just sitting here till this day with signs out looking for that black woman. But they found him within 18 hours. He was found. He was identified. After a sandal left at the crime scene came back with a match to his DNA. And it just comes to show what the investigators in our society prioritize. They prioritize certain people, certain individual statuses over other people, right? And so other people can, in this case, reminds me of, you know, that new case on Netflix called Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer had killed 17 men, and the majority of them were black men and Asian minority men. So the officers didn't prioritize all these black men and Asian men's lives because of the color of who they were, right? So this man, Jeffrey Dahmer, was getting away with killing all these men for over 10-year decade because of the victims he chose, he targeted, right? So, and that is so sad because had the officers in that case prioritized all those different cases of all these people missing and women, family members reporting their family members missing for years and years, and the officers not doing anything, Jeffrey Dahmer would have been arrested over a decade before he had continued to kill all these people. And that's the problem in our society, is that law enforcement does not prioritize certain ethnic groups' lives over others. And that what ends up happening is it causes more tragedy to other families due to their carelessness and lack of empathy for other cultures. Very, very disgusting in my opinion. His DNA was already in police databases. Due to a prior felony conviction. Henderson previously served 20 years in prison for kidnapping he committed at age 16. He was 16 when he kidnapped the lawyer. He was a teenager, a 16-year-old kid. Isn't that crazy? This guy had no promise even as a kid. That's crazy. I didn't know he was only 16 when he kidnapped the lawyer. And the lawyer who worked at the same law firm as Eliza's uncle. Interesting connection. But the age 16, man, can you believe it? 16-year-old kid kidnapping a lawyer? That's crazy. Henderson has been charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping in the case. He has entered a plea. He has not entered a plea, and his lawyer has declined requests for comment. Here is the video of him.
The fact and ruling of the law on the issues that are raised concerning whether or not the public defender is disqualified to represent the defendant. The only issues that I could see, and the information given to me was limited, was that there a matter of public record. Everything that I'm ruling here is a matter of public record. That the Shelby County Public Defender's Office previously represented Mr. Henderson on a case where he entered a guilty plea in 2001 in the criminal court of Shelby County and was sentenced to serve 24 years in prison. It's also a matter of public record that the defendant, after serving some 7 or 8 years of that sentence, filed a pro se, that means on his own for no lawyer, petition for post-conviction relief in the criminal court of Shelby County. That was in 2009, alleging ineffective assistance of counsel.
So that was his arraignment. You could just see, guys, if you looked at him closely in that video, you need to look at his body language. Body language is very powerful to read an individual. And as you can tell here, I'm just going to see if I can just get this and pause it. But you can tell that his head is slanted. That, to me, depicts someone who lacks any empathy, period, for the charges that they did, for the crime that they committed. This person is soulless. He has no soul, okay? So he does not care. Look at it. It's just like there's no emotion in his face. That's a very scary state to see someone in, because this person is a sociopath. He's called a sociopath and can also have psychopath tendencies. But if you, oh goodness, it Okay, here it is. But if you look at him, look how he has his head slanted. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He lacks any form of guilt for what he did. Period. And had he got away with this, he would have kept doing it. He would have continued to do it. He would have went on to be the next Jeffrey Dahmer. Unfortunately, it would have been women that would have been victimized, unfortunately. Yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer's case, I might go over that one. That one was crazy, guys. There's a Netflix. If you guys have Netflix, I recommend you guys look at that particular series. It is very, very alarming and sad how all of those officers just ignored all of those victims, the different family members, and I think simply because of who the victims were involved. The case sparked nationwide outpouring of sadness and anger. Earlier this month, in cities across the country, hundreds of joggers met at the same morning hour. Fletcher was kidnapped to finish her run. That's sad. In her honor. Oh my gosh. You guys, you can only imagine what Fletcher went through. The fear that she felt, the terror, thinking of her life going, flashing before her eyes, knowing that her kids will never see her again. My God, no one knows the terror that young lady felt. And they made it clear that women should be able to run safely any time of the day. And that sounds great, but guys, the reality is we're not safe to run any time of the day. There are sick monsters out there like this. And if you are going to take those risks to run in early hours like this, that you're vulnerable, then you need to have protection. You need to. This story should warn women out there who choose to run at these hours to be more careful, to carry weapons with you, to be watchful, to run in groups, but don't put your life on the line. There's other safe ways to get fitness, run during broad daylight hours. Maybe after work would be a perfect time because there's a lot of people out running and jogging and exercising. And if you're in a more crowded area, you can feel more safe because there's people there that can see you and witness anything that may go down. And always bring a weapon, and don't use your earphones when you're running, because that can cause distractions as you're running and you're not able to focus on your surroundings as a young lady. To those who say Fletcher was tempting fate by going out alone so early in a city considered unsafe, it's time to stop blaming women for getting murdered while running, said Krista. And no one is blaming her. And it really frustrates me when people say that. I'm going to say I'm not blaming Eliza Fletcher. My heart is extremely broken for this young woman. I just feel so much empathy. And any stories that I share on this channel, it's because it really captivated my heart, you guys, my soul. And I'm so sad for her, but her story sends a message. And I think it's a story that needed to be highlighted because it is a warning. It is a warning to other women. Her story could help save other women who see her story and say, you know what, maybe I need to change my ways and take more precautions. Maybe I need to bring my weapon, bring me some pepper spray, bring, a firearm if you have the training to have that, bring a taser with you, but you need to be strapped. You cannot, as a young lady, if you're going to run at those hours, and you're going to be alone, you need to have your weapons. You cannot wear your earphones and just run with the wind. You have to be aware of your surroundings, looking around. And another thing, if someone tries to get you in a car, you better fight for your life to not get into that car. I would rather be shot on the street or beat on the street in broad daylight than to be pushed into the car, because once you get in that car, once you are forced into that car, that is when you will experience some of the worst terror that person's going to put you under. So it's best to just try to get away, scream, run, fight like you have never fought before to not get in that car, and scream as loud as you can. And they also have this tool that you can use if you look it up, where you can press a button and it makes this really loud, obnoxious, alarm sound that women can carry that. And you can press that button and it just makes this loud sound. So that will draw attention to you as well. But I think the best recommendation is to run during hours when there's people around. I mean, maybe 6 o'clock is a good time instead of 4 o'clock. But if you're going to do 4 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you need to have your weapons. You just need to know. You need to be aware, at least. Be like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I know that this is a dangerous choice and I need to have my weapons prepared. I need to, make sure I'm looking around at all times and fight like I've never fought before to not get into anyone's vehicle if they try. If they try, okay? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, you guys. We need to use her story to learn so hopefully we could save some lives. Melissa A. Sullivan, a marathon runner, described the Washington Post how she was tired of constantly having to be on alert. And I know we all are, all women are. But unfortunately, it is the world that we live in, and it is not getting any better. There are sociopaths out there who do not care about consequences. They don't care about being arrested, you guys. They don't care about spending their life in jail because that's all they have known. Cleotha has spent his life in jail since the age of 16 years old. Do you think he really cares whether he's going back to jail? No, because that's all he knows anyway. So, oh yeah, we're tired of it, but we have to keep being alert for the rest of our life. If you want to live in this world, you have to be. Okay? So, like so many other women, I am angry, I'm frustrated, I'm exhausted by the expectation that the honest to present the harassment and intimidation of women runners should be and always will be on us, she wrote. Yeah, it's very sad. It's a very sad reality, unfortunately. Very, very sad. The violent death of Fletcher, a mother with a big smile who has been described as an exemplary Christian, was quickly branded by some right-wing commentators as a sign of social decay under the left's leadership. This is what really frustrates me. They always try to put in politics. You guys, this has nothing to do with politics. Those guys and criminals, people who go out and commit these murders, they don't care about what political side you're on. They don't care. The only influence I would say politics would have in this is the laws that they create. They need more strict laws, period. I mean, these people shouldn't be able to get out early. Cleotha got released early from prison from his original sentence after robbing the attorney 20 years ago. He got out, pretty early. That was the first miscarriage of justice on the law enforcement's end, on our judicial system's end, is that in America, they constantly give criminals all of these lackadaisical sentences. They'll give them like a 10-year sentence, and they don't even serve the full sentence. They always get out on some type of, good behavior or whatever they get out on. And then those people go out and continue to commit more heinous crimes. So, yeah, I would think the political part would be the laws that are enacted. But when it comes to the criminals themselves, they don't really care what political side you're on or who's in office. They just want to do what they want to do, and they have no remorse for it. And that's the sad part. These people who are sociopaths, honestly, the sad thing is they don't care about the consequences. So let's say our political system gets their act right and they do enact stricter laws. It's really not going to deter these type of sick people. They don't care. The only way I think it really will help society is they need to, in a lot of these states, they need to enact the death penalty. I'm just saying. A lot of them have gotten rid of the death penalty, but I think it just needs to be restored in a lot of these states because some of these people are just never going to learn. I mean, think about Jeffrey Dahmer, or that we talked about, Jeffrey Dahmer, who killed over 17 people, probably more. There's other people out there who've done the same, other criminals, and it's just they don't care. They don't care. They will keep doing it and 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 doing it. So it doesn't matter how many times you put those people in a prison cell, they're going to keep doing it. And the interesting part about Jeffrey Dahmer, when he did get convicted, he had no remorse for what he did. He was in jail, in prison, and he would reorchestrate his food to look like limbs and different body parts, and then he would pour ketchup on it to make it look like blood and kind of mock his victims. And then he would set these different plates with all the fake, organs, basically how he shaped his food, into certain areas so other inmates would see it. He was just torturing the inmates in there. So I'm just saying, some of these criminals, they don't care. So it's like, what's the point of them being in our society? They're just going to keep harming victims. Tucker Carlson, a star anchor at conservative favor Fox News, here we go again, guys, with these politics, made Fletcher an auxiliary for the fall of Memphis law and order. They're making it all politics again. I can't do the politics. I'm probably going to skip over the rest of the politics stuff because that just irritates me. But here's the kind of the timeline of the disappearance of Eliza Fletcher. So September 2nd at 4:30, Fletcher, 34, goes for a jog near the university campus and is bundled into the dark SUV. At 7:45, officers are dispatched after husband Richard reports her disappearance. They find her water bottle, smashed cell phone in front of a home near the scene. Okay? And interesting, you guys have to look at, I really want to encourage you guys to look and compare different stories. So, in cases when there is a black person missing, if they notify the officers, they're not going to quickly within this short time frame, they're not going to quickly start searching for the victim. They're going to say wait 24 hours. That's what they normally tell individuals, especially in the black community or other minorities. But this particular story, see, notice how quickly these officers were dispatched. She goes missing at 4:30. The husband calls the officers. At 7:45, officers are already looking for this woman. When there's hundreds of cases out there where you will hear from different victims in the black community who will tell you that they've called law enforcement about their missing family member, and the officers will tell them, you have to wait 24 hours or you have to wait 48 hours. This is just showing you the distinction. It is a very clear indication that there's a problem in America, a problem in how our law enforcement completely forgets and devalues the lives of minorities. They do. But when it comes to the Caucasian community, they quickly jump to their aid. Look at this. As soon as that husband called, the officers were on it. And that's how these officers should treat everyone, but they fail to do that. They fail to do that. So this shows officers know how to use their resources. They know how to quickly respond to cases like this when people are missing, yet they choose not to do it for other ethnic groups. And that is a problem in our country. But for them failing to do that for other ethnic groups, especially the black community, Eliza's gone. She is gone. She would have been here if they would have charged him with the rape back in September last year. She would have been here, you guys. It's sad. So moving on. September 3rd, cops tow her family car from her home. Investigators were also seen to label a pair of garden shears and a computer as evidence. They score a local park and release CCTV of the GMC terrain. So they were investigating the husband as well. They thought maybe the husband was involved. They probably got some type of information. They always think the husband's involved, so they had to do their part of towing the family car to see if there was any evidence in there. They looked at the computer to see what if the husband was searching. Was he trying to search for certain things that were suspicious? So they were investigating the husband also. That's what September 3rd was all about. Cleotha Abston, 38, is arrested with especially aggravated kidnapping and tampering with evidence. He was identified as the owner of the black SUV. He was apprehended after he was involved in a car wreck with an alcohol, tobacco, firearms vehicle on Saturday night. It is later revealed he was recently released from a 20-year sentence for a similar crime. And he was released early from that sentence. He didn't even serve the full 20 years, which was the first problem in this case. September 4th, Abston is charged with especially aggravated kidnapping and tampering with evidence. And the sick part is when he was released, he already started messing up. He meets this girl on a dating app. He REPEDs her, assaults her. Then he goes on to murder this woman. You see how his crimes got progressively worse? Started out with a robbery 20 years ago. Who knows what other stuff he's done, guys? There's a lot more that he probably got away with. Because it seems like when he assaults people in the black community, law enforcement doesn't care. So he keeps getting away with all this. And then now he turns his attention on someone in the white community. And that's when all of a sudden, all the resources are put into convicting this guy. It's make it make sense, you guys. Make it make sense. September 4th, Abston is charged with especially aggravated kidnapping and tampering with evidence. September 5th, cops search pond and park. New charges are filed against Abston of identity theft, theft of property, fraudulent use of illegal possession of a credit and debit card, 1,000 or less. So not only did he RAPED Eliza, allegedly, I think he did. Come on, he stripped her naked, guys. Like, he did something to her. He was with her for 2 hours, her body. He did something. And he already did it to the other lady. So there, you already know that's something that he has an issue with. Then he takes all her money. He goes and basically robs her too of her money. He did both. He combined both of his prior criminal acts into one case with Eliza this time. Just sick. A body is found near Abston's brother's home. It has been identified as Eliza. Ugh, this is crazy, guys. So they say Fletcher was white, but her suspected killer, Cleotha, is black. Apart from these debates, Fletcher's death also resurfaced a reoccurring problem in the United States. A DNA sample from an unrelated, this is the part we were talking about, RAPE case turned out to match Henderson. But you notice, guys, it says the RAPE occurred September 2021. That was last year. But the SA kit, read those words there, the SA kit there, was only processed in June. Why did it take them that long? Look at how this black woman who suffered an attack last year, and they just processed her case in June of this year. But see how quick, look at this timeline when a white woman went missing. See how fast they turned it? They was on it. 4:30, she goes missing. 7:45, the husband calls. They're on it. They find her within a matter of days. She's found. 18 hours later, Cleotha is arrested. But when a black woman's involved, she's a victim now. They waited. Her kit wasn't even processed until June. That is unacceptable. Had they treated this black woman the same way they treated Eliza, Eliza would have been here. He would have been in jail because he probably was out on parole for that 20-year sentence. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they released him on parole. So had they did their job with the first test and processed the black woman's RAPE kit, had they processed that, they would have already charged him with her assault, and he would have been arrested, put back in custody until his case went to trial. And that means Eliza would have been here. You see how this is all connected? You see why we have the Black Lives Matter movement? It's bigger than just when the law enforcement, brutally takes the life of a black person. It's bigger than that, guys. It goes to the fact that law enforcement doesn't prioritize the victimization of the black community and other ethnic groups. And that's why it is so important that we have movements like Black Lives Matter, Other Groups Matter. It's not that it's saying that they're prioritizing black lives over other cultures. That's not what that movement is saying. It's just saying, hey, don't forget about us. We matter too. You know what I mean? It's saying we matter too. You prioritize all these other groups, but we also matter. That's what the Black Lives Movement means. It's just treat us the same way. Prioritize our life the way you prioritize people in the white community. Because whether they know it or not, because all of us are connected. The Bible says when the house is divided against itself, it will fall. Our country as a whole is considered analogous to a house. So when you are divided against each other, black people are considered Americans just like any other group. Asians, everybody's considered American. So we're all a part of the household. So when you are not providing effective, equal resources to one group, you're harming the other group also, because this woman, Eliza, lost her life because of officers failing to prioritize the black woman's life. You see how sad this tragedy is? Now, these two beautiful babies here do not have a mother. Look at these cute kids. This is sad because Eliza was an incredible mother, you guys. There's videos out there, and she was an amazing teacher. When you see the videos of her, it just makes you feel so devastated even more because you get to know the woman behind the name. A lot of times we just hear names in the news, so we don't really know the impact and who that person was. But when you really get to know the person, it really shows the gravity of the loss. And this woman was amazing. She was just incredible. Her students loved her. During the pandemic, she would do videos for her students, and they were just so precious. And she really loved her students, like as if they were her own children. And this family is broken because of the miscarriage of the law enforcement. I really think that the family should sue the law enforcement for this. They should sue them because they're just as at fault as Cleotha. Because had they did their job regarding this first incident here back in September 21, he already had been released, I believe, on parole because of the 20-year sentence he had served. So any other offense he had done would have put him right back into the jail system. But because he assaulted a black woman, they didn't care. They were like, oh, whatever, we'll just put her stuff in a locker somewhere and we'll deal with it when we have time. That's all they said. We'll deal with it when we have time. If this woman here was let's flip the script. If it was a white woman that was RAPED back in September 2021, they would have already did those results back in September within a matter of seconds. It would have been, they were the same day they got the sample, would have been the same day they ran the results. And Cleotha would have been in jail. And Eliza would have been here. That's just sad. I'm sorry, we got to talk a little bit about some touchy subjects on this case because it's just tragic that this woman, Eliza, is gone because of carelessness of the officers who choose to devalue the life of others. So sad. Look at her. This is so sad, man. My heart, man. I can't stand people like Cleotha. And here's an actual live footage of the actual depiction of all the law enforcement involved in this investigation. So this is the scene showing the search for Fletcher just prior to the announcement of the grisly discovery. This is where they found her body. So there was a bunch of law enforcement out there because they had to basically block off the area, get all their evidence, DNA, everything at that particular location. There is the abandoned home again that we talked about with the law enforcement here blocking it off. This is a part of their procedure of using that yellow tape here to block it off so that none of the evidence is compromised by people who are spectators who come by and who are curious, want to see what's going on. So they have to put the yellow tape so that they can finish their investigation. Police also discovered Fletcher's purple running shorts in a trash bag less than half a mile from where her body was discovered. So he had to have removed her clothes, right? What other reason for him to remove her clothes? And then take her clothes and not even give her the dignity enough to put her clothes back on. He took all of her clothes off. This was a perverted intent. This goes back to my original analysis when I first talked about this case in the video. We went over women jogging and how he was a sick, perverted man who was lusting after her. That was really his original intent, was lusting after this woman. He parked at that location just hoping for some vulnerable victim to come running by. Who knows if he had saw her there before? But he went to the university. That's where she was running. So he was looking for a student to come running by, a female student who was vulnerable alone. And unfortunately, Fletcher was the victim that ran by. And since this was her routine, I wonder if he had already been over there before another day and saw her before and just came and waited for her to come. That's what I think could have been what happened. So that is the details, guys. I don't see anything else on this. Yeah, there's no other articles on here. So that's the update, you guys. You guys let me know what you guys think about this. This story just got worse. It's just so, my heart, man, is so sad at this story. What do you guys think? Dylan says, you are awesome. You should have at least 1 million subscribers. I don't understand why you don't have them already. Keep up the good work. You have a huge heart and so intelligent. Blessings. Oh, thank you, Dylan. I missed you. I remember you used to watch the Chesley Chris stories and the Keys to Freedom, like some of the Keys to Freedom lessons. I miss you so much. I'm so happy to see you in the chat. That made my whole night because I have been thinking about you. I was like, where's Dylan? I haven't seen him in a while. So I'm really happy to see you. Way too hot for you says this is horrible. Yes, way too hot for you. It is so sad. Oh, my heart is just crushed, you guys. Oh, hi, and Coco. How are you? He says, in my area, there's a frail 40-something woman jogs all over my work area. She's always made me cringe. Oh, no. And Coco, please talk to her if you see her again, and please tell her about the Eliza Fletcher story. If you see her, just say, you know, ma'am, please be safe. I just want to point you to the Eliza Fletcher story. Just please, just be careful. This, And just, we got to help each other out, you know? We got to help each other. We got to help each other. That's why we do these stories on this page. It's not to be negative or anything. It's really to highlight stories so that we can learn and try to save other people's lives and be a community to help other people. That's really why we talk about the different stories. His father is in prison for killing someone. Right, way too hot for you. Yes, yes. You're right. Thank you for going into the details about that. I talked a little bit about it at the beginning, but yes, his father is in prison. His own dad is in prison for killing someone. And his brother is now in jail for possession of drugs and a firearm. But he also, the brother has a prior conviction for assaulting someone too. So the whole family is just all messed up. They're sick people. And it's sad because there's sick people out there like this. And I know the woman on this article commented that she's tired of having to look out for herself. She's tired of having to protect, women having to protect themselves. But that is the world that we live in, unfortunately. There is some cold, sick, depraved people out there. And a lot of them are influenced by the enemy. They are. They're influenced by some demonic force, and you have to take precautions. And that's why we talk about these stories, because these people should be alive. They should be here with us. But unfortunately, they didn't have the tools that we now have when we get to talk about their stories so we can help someone. That hopefully the next people out there who are running and jogging, they will have their pepper spray. They will have a taser. I recommend have a taser. Pepper spray is good. Then also have one of those little buttons that's kind of like an alarm system where you can press it and it makes this really obnoxious, loud alarm cell. Have one of those. An alarm sound, and have one of those. And if you're trained, the best weapon you can have is a firearm if you're trained. If you're trained, get the training, learn how to use it, learn how to operate it properly. But women who are going to jog this early, they need to just have a firearm. Get the training. Get the training, because it's just your life is not something to play with. And our life can be stripped from us within a matter of seconds. That's how quick it can be gone. So to value your life, I would say get the training. If you're a woman and you want to run 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, or run at 9 or 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, whatever hours you're choosing, go get trained. Take the extra step. Get trained, learn how to use a firearm, get you a nice small firearm that you can operate, put that, in your waist area and have it ready. Have it ready and be looking around. If you're going to take those risks, protect yourself, value your life, because at the end of the day, these criminals don't care about going back to prison. A lot of them have already lengthy records. The judicial system continually gives them break after break after break after break after break. Even when they murder people, they're getting breaks. They're getting let out early on parole and all these things. The judicial system in America is so lackadaisical. That is why we have just a prominent high amount of crime. If you go to other countries, and you commit the same type of crimes that you see in America, these people would take you out in the back somewhere and use a firearm and just take your life with a firearm. I'll give you a quick story. There was a man. He went overseas to teach in another country. I forgot the name of the country, guys, so don't judge me. I forgot the name, but he went to this country. He meets an Asian lady. They get in a relationship. She doesn't know that he's married, right? So when she finds out that he's married, she breaks up with him. She's like, I'm not having that. It's over. He can't take no for an answer. So when he sees her at a bus stop, he brutally stabs the woman, poor sad woman, in the other country. When the law enforcement in that country get a hold of him, they take him to trial, everything. You know the sentence he got for that crime? The death penalty. And the death penalty, what they did there is they took him in the back, or they took him to an area. They blindfold him. There's a bunch of individuals that are lined up with firearms, and they shoot him in the chest, blindfolded. That was what he got. And that's how brutal a lot of these other countries are. They don't play. I mean, look what happened to the lady, goodness, I don't know her name, the woman who was in Russia. Now, this is probably a political move in terms of Russia as it relates to their tensions with America. But she was carrying the cannabis or whatever. And I don't think it was actual cannabis. I think it was just like the liquid form. I don't know. You guys let me know. But she just had a possession of that. And now she's facing all these years in prison for that. See how strict the laws are in contrast to America? We're so lenient. And because we're so soft on crime and these criminals, That's why we have a huge amount of crime here. It needs to be a no nonsense. But unfortunately, because of our political system, it's not going to happen, guys. So we're going to keep seeing these stories, which is why we unfortunately need to protect ourselves. As ladies, we need to protect ourselves. It is the reality of our world. It's the reality of our country, if you're in America, especially. And in actually, I would say our world too, because in other countries, sometimes some of these other countries don't value women's life also. So there's some countries out there that don't really care about women as well. So that's another issue on another topic. All right. Thank you guys for listening. I love you all so much. Take care.